Kind of nice, isn't it?
I don't know. I feel like I was just telling someone Zoom is so much more complicated than Google Meet, and here I am like with my partners. Okay, let's see if I can make this work now. Now I'm on another screen. Okay, so this came up last year. Let's just set some norms, right? When we start getting more guests back in, because we had some last semester, they are volunteering their time and talent. If you have a question, let's put in the chat box, unless it's like an open conversation. And real tricky, if you see a grammatical or a cultural concern, let's not call it out in the middle of our session. Shoot me an email, I'll pass it on. We don't want anyone to be embarrassed when they're volunteering their time and talents, because except for probably 2 people, most of us are not native speakers. So please just be considerate if you see something funky. Okay, so here's our plan. I want to make sure everyone's aware of the plan for the whole year. We wanted to meet twice a month. The first meeting will be some sort of CI strategy. And like I was telling you, Abby and I, Abby suggested after she went to the Martina Beck's acquisition boot camp. And so that's the most recent professional development in my head. So it's sort of what's driving this. But I honestly, like, if you guys have really good strategies, bring them to us and you can take over a session. It would be great. It would be something that you could put in your TEKS that you led a professional development. It's a pretty low stress group of folks. And everybody here and everybody who is going to watch videos later just wants to learn and get better. So if you have something to share, please let me know, because y'all are going to get tired of my voice real quick, I'm assured. So that's going to be the first meeting every month. The second meeting every month is to do some sort of collaboration, because if you are not in a district that has multiple teachers, like I'm the only French teacher in my district, or if you are so spread out like Jason and there's not really lots of time to collaborate, we wanted our rural folks to feel supported, sharing ideas, sharing strategies, even coming up, if you want, come up with like common assessments, whatever you guys need. It's a time for you to collaborate with people that you may not get in your building or in your district. So that's going to be the second meeting of every month. And then when I have time, which seems like I don't have time a lot right now this semester, I want to be able to send out informational emails to y'all. Over on the side is the dates. You can either take a screenshot. I've sent it in all of the communications, but it's roughly every other week, I guess. I think there's a couple that there's a wonky day because of holidays or something. So that's our plan for the year. But the plan for today, we are going to talk about establishing meaning, which I didn't really think about was such a big deal, but it actually kind of is a really big deal. Then we're going to talk about planning for our next session. I don't know why I wrote next week, but planning for our next session. I want to pick your brain about the rural language teacher wish list, because that's kind of a really cool thing I want to talk to you about. And then if you need a certificate of attendance, I'll give you a form to fill out for that. Okay, so full disclosure, like I was saying, I got this from Abby, and then I did it over the summer. Martina Beck's. You guys all familiar with Martina Beck's? Somos. Okay, so have y'all already done her trainings? If y'all have done her trainings, I can just skip to the end of this. No? Okay. So she and her group have done Somos, which is it's a comprehensible input curriculum. Abby, you use it, right? Yeah, it is like a huge shift. If anyone has ever used a textbook, it is the opposite of a textbook. It will really challenge the way I think that you approach what it means to learn a second language. So all the things that we're going to talk about came from the training from her that we did. So I just want to make sure that y'all know this is not my stuff. I've gotten it from her, and I am totally bringing it up because it's something I think we all need to talk about. Okay, so the assumption is that we want students to understand what's going on in our classrooms. I'm going to assume that everyone here wants their students to understand what's happening. Why do I say that? Because I have walked into some classes before where honestly it didn't feel like the language teacher wanted the kids to know what was happening. Have y'all been in those before? Anyone been in those? Feel free to unmute, y'all. This can be super informal. Have you ever been in one of those classes where you have no idea what's going on? And the teacher may not have scaffolded. Okay, so our assumption is we want our kids to understand. So then the question becomes, well, how do you ensure that they do understand? And how do you make your class comprehensible? Anyone feel free to unmute. Talk to me about your process. Like, how do you get information to kids excuse me, while you're staying in the language? What are your strategies? Everyone's shy today?
I have like posters and I have words galore all over my whole room.
Right.
And my room looks nothing like anybody else in the whole school because like every inch and window and everything is like covered. So I rely heavily on using the stuff I have posted up.
And so is it in Spanish and English? Is it pictures
Both.
in Spanish? Both? Okay. So this is the thing that like old school teachers, this sort of shook me internally when I was listening to this. Because I'm very used to pictures, right? Pictures convey meaning. Pictures are how everyone learns things. Yay! Why can't you understand these pictures? This is an example of what I use every day in class. And sorry, Martina Beck, I'm still going to use it. It works. It's a picture with the words. It's easy for kids to associate. But when you get outside of those like concrete, this means I'm happy, this means I'm mad, what do? Sorry, I clicked the slide. And so the thing that the ABC, it's acquisition boot camp. So if I call it ABC, it's acquisition boot camp training. They were like, hey, what if you give kids a picture of a butterfly and tell them that is mariposa? Well, if you're using a color picture, kids may think that means wing or antenna or blue or, the easiest way, if you have kids, the easiest and most efficient way, if you have kids who have the same common language, English, is to just give them the word and what it means in English. Which to me was like, oh my gosh, what? I don't use English. We're not supposed to use English. To which they actually made a comment that said, hey, y'all, that 90% is a goal. Keeping your class 90% in the language is not a mandate, it's a goal. Your goal is for everything to be comprehensible. So I sort of switched what I do in class, and this is something that I did sometime this week. I don't even know what day it is right now, honestly. But I did it at some point this week where I have to talk to them about family members. So I put a picture of my family back before the pandemic and before I gained 50 pounds. And before my sister got married. It's a really old picture. So when I was introducing my family, and this is actually, I can say which family members I look like, I could point to myself, establish meaning saying this is me, and then I can point to the word je, I look like. Instead of doing some big song and dance about trying to show that I look like somebody, the kids can access it there. I look like, and then I have another poster like Abby with all the family members. I look like my mom, while pointing to the words, pointing to the people, establishing meaning using English. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to let y'all discuss. How do you feel about this whole give in English establishing of meaning? Danny's like, I don't want to respond. Talk to us.
Well, we just started. We did our TEKS pre-evaluation, and I did have started with 90%, and I went to 70% to where my goal is actually them speaking the language. So I feel like that's still a crutch just to continue to use the English, but oftentimes it's necessary. So I guess, that's something that we'll have to implement. But for me, I want to kind of get away from using English.
Well, and I should clarify, that's a really good point. When I'm doing my lesson like this, I'm not saying je ressemble à, that means I look like. I'm pointing and saying the French, pausing to give enough time so kids can say, oh, she means I. Like they're doing the processing in their head, right? So when I'm saying je, they're saying je, I. Ressemble à, if you look like. Move to the poster, ma mère. Oh, she just said I look like my mom. Instead of having to like guess what all these words are or do some sort of dance and song. And I'm with you, like I have always struggled to not translate, and there are just lots of people that are doing things like with translation, without translation, switching things in. there's so many different like branches, I think, of comprehensible input, but at the core of all of it, the kids got to know what we're saying. And I'm not saying this is right. I'm saying this is what Martina says, and her whole Somos doesn't even do this many words in one day. Like they focus on like 2 or 3 words a day, and then they build in with cognates and they build in with other words that they've learned. But it really did sort of like bother me internally because I'm like, whoa, I'm not supposed to use English.
Yeah.
But I will say, like I have done something like this in the past where there was no English, and when I did it this week, the kids picked it up in one class period. We're on block. Having that English accessible to them to understand what it means sets them up to do other stuff well, I think. That's me.
I think too, yeah, same here. I mean, I think that having it kind of helps them feel more comfortable. They're not like, oh my gosh, wait, she said this. What does it mean? I don't know. I can't, like, I feel like it makes them just feel more relaxed and kind of like, okay, I can keep up. Like, I don't have to panic. It's right there for me to use. And yeah, I do like you too. I don't say the English out loud, but it is there for them. But I feel like it makes them feel a little more comfortable and I don't know, like they're being successful.
Right. I mean, I've definitely, as a student, remember thinking, just tell me the word. Like, what are we doing? Like, everyone's shouting and guessing, and I don't understand what's going on. I remember really being very frustrated in classes, and I was like, I wish you would just tell me what it is so we can move on. And like, I even have had conversations with a friend of mine who's starting her doctorate, and that's kind of, I think, one of the things she was talking about. And was just like, how sure are we about this? Like doing everything in the target language, and like, what about like making people feel comfortable and effective filter, and like.
And like you learn, I don't pretend to be an expert. I remember a little bit about second language acquisition from when I went to school. Don't tell my professors, I should remember a lot more, but I don't. But like you learn it a whole lot differently than your first language, right? Like you already have a schematic map in your head of how language works and how you've got object, like you understand, you have a language system already. Mm-hmm. So the second language system works a little bit differently in your head. And the other thing, we had a training here and they brought up processing and short-term to long-term memory and all that stuff. And the thing that was important to me as I was thinking about this was there's such a processing load, basically. When we're teaching in a foreign language, kids are having to listen to stuff, they're having to process it, and it takes so much of their short-term memory to just do the processing that if you keep bombarding that short-term memory with more to process, they can't process it. They're not going to get it in. So if you're trying to get something from short-term into long-term, if you just keep adding more without stopping to let them think and understand and form those connections, you're never going to get it. It's kind of like, 30 years ago, here's your 40 list of vocabulary words. You have to learn those before you can actually start doing anything. Like, we just don't do that anymore. So, all right, Adam, I can't tell if you are contemplating, if you are skeptical, if your department is telling you the opposite.
Hey, gosh, I love CI and have been getting into it for a few years now, but I have a hard time getting anybody else to go with me in the department. So that's kind of where we are. I've been kind of folding strategies in for a couple of years now, but still have to hang on to the textbook to go along with the department and our middle school program. So, but as far as the CI, the slide you have here, I like the English. It lets you go a little more complex. That would be hard to draw or visualize. And also, for me, it's like sometimes you have students that are really super low in any language, in their English. So they do need way more basic.
Keep going, Adam. Sorry, I hear noise. That might be me.
Yeah, so So I like the addition of English for.
And I'm not saying it's right, y'all. I'm just saying this is how Martina says to do things, probably not with this much vocabulary, and it really did sort of shift some of my teaching practices. And like you may not be able to tell, if you were here last year, I do this thing called Everyday IPA that I totally stole from Meredith White. So every day we have a little learning phase of class where I give them the new vocabulary, then they do an interpretive task, they do an interpersonal task, they do a presentational task. So I'm doing these 4 tasks plus a warm-up at the beginning of class. I've got 5 sections of my class to get through in 80 minutes. And before I started doing Everyday IPA with these CI strategies, I would spend a bulk of my class giving the kids content. And there was very little time for the kids to do anything with it. And so in conjunction with CI, in conjunction with Everyday IPA, my teaching parts have drastically reduced. Like if I spend 8 to 12 minutes teaching something, it's a very long teaching day for me. I think today I spent like 7 minutes, maybe 6, teaching my French 1 class because it's not overloading them with stuff, and then it's setting them up to do activities where they're successful with it. Not the greatest thing in the world. I'm not going to get kids who can be in an AP class and get a 5 after 3 semesters of French. I'm still on a path to making things better, and I'm like you, Adam, I'm stuck with a textbook. I'm stuck with a textbook, and I'm also thankful that I have it because my bandwidth right now, I don't think I could create curriculum on my own. I couldn't be like Val. I'm sure Val has to find everything, authentic resources. Talk to us about Russian, Val. Like, where do you do Russian?
Okay, first of all, Abby, is that you who sent me that email of that lady from Alaska?
Michelle, yes.
Oh my God.
Have you
I
connected
exchanged with her like more than 20 emails. She even sent me that book she wrote in a comprehensive input. She wrote the book, She sent me the book. So I'm completely over with you on it. But I discovered that Abby Davis, she sent me. Oh, who was it? The Michelle, I don't remember, Worley, Michelle, Dr. Worley, I think.
Oh, the Russian. I have watched.
Yes, the Russian teacher.
I started watching her videos to figure out how to do this CI. She's great.
Yes,
Sorry, I was trying to let you talk without interrupting. Okay, go ahead.
So we could not stop talking and exchanging ideas because I figure out I'm using that comprehensible input for years. I even did not know I using it. I did not know the name of it. So yeah, it was great. And I using her book now, and just with 2 of my students who is teaching, who is in Russian 4. So this is just a great idea. And what I want to tell you about also I'm teaching strategies. Today you said 12 minutes. You were teaching. That's pretty much what I did. And I've been thinking why I'm so tired. Teaching 12 minutes, I'm still was very tired after my second block because I'm in a control and watching it what the students doing because I teach and I give it to them because we were learning today how are you, and they supposed to be with expression of their face say how they feel, or sad or bad or happy or normal. And it was fun, it was great, but it's very tiring because you are walking around with these groups and students. So yes, you're right. They need to understand the concept. They need to understand vocabulary words. Everything must be understandable, what is going on in the classroom.
Awesome. I couldn't agree more. And again, guys, I'm not here to like change your whole world or anything. I just want to bring stuff to light for you. Maybe you can use it in your classroom. Maybe you can have a discussion with others in your departments. Just sort of re-delivering the things that we learned from Martina Beck. Since Abby, you're the one that turned us on to the ABC, the Acquisition Bootcamp, is there anything that I'm forgetting about establishing meaning? Is there anything else key in there? I took an outline, but I can't remember all.
Do you do gestures?
So my vocabulary looks like this, right? Like I'm kind of like Adam still, like I focus on that textbook content because I have to give these assessments. So I can't really do gestures. Like I don't know how do you say there are and these are, and like when I can, I'll say my and your, but like what she's talking about is if you do like Somos or the New Som or the Sumos, whatever their curriculum is for your language, they really do just focus on roughly like 3 to 4 words a day, right, Abby? And they're
Like
very
a unit, not even a day, like for like a unit.
well, talk us through it. Since you teach it, show us like gestures and what she means. With
Well,
gestures.
and Someone doesn't make you do gestures, but she does suggest it, and I use ASL, or I look on the internet. I hope it's the real ASL. I don't know anything about sign language, but anyway. So I don't do every single word, but I pick like right now we're doing girl, boy, and says. And so for when I do like when I introduce muchacha, I'll have when muchacha is a girl, and I do the different colors like you do, and then this is for muchacha is this.
Right.
And so I do it, and I've been doing it for the past couple of years. I like it. I don't do every single word, but I probably have at least 1 or 2 per unit. And then that is another way too that they can like answer the gesture, and I'll accept that, or something, or it's just another way to like physically get it in your body. Just to I feel like I've only been teaching this my 5th year, so I don't know lots of things, but I feel like the gesture helps them establish the meaning, where maybe, I mean, I have the English there too, but I feel like it's in their body. It's kind of like, I don't know. Some of them use it when they don't know, or if they don't want to say it out loud, or they don't know how to say it out loud. They know, or if I even do this, yes, then they know that I'm saying these say, she says, and I don't know. I feel like it helps.
Right. And there's something to be said for another thing that I took away was teachers, we want kids to talk, right? Here's some stuff. I need you to learn to say it. But if you're doing sort of CI stuff, there's this very natural silent period where they're basically just little receptors and they're not able to put anything else in speaking. They may be able to write and stuff, but like, so gestures, when Abby's talking about gestures, if you're doing sort of CI stuff, I think, who else is it? Tina Hargaden does a lot of gestures. Like if you're focusing on sees, runs, walks, they would do like sees and make the kids learn the gesture for sees or runs or walks, or you know what I mean? Like they give a gesture to focus on those activities or those words, and then they do the lesson where they're reading something or telling a story or whatever comes next. But it's another way to establish meaning, and I suck at it. Like I talk with my hands so much that I can't actually make a legitimate gesture and remember what it is. So I'm glad you have success with it, Abby. All right, for the sake of time, it's 4:30. This is really the only part that I have for establishing meaning. Are there any sort of closing thoughts? Do you guys have any questions? This is just sort of something to stick in your brain and think about, accept, reject, implement, don't implement, whatever you need, before we wrap up our CI strategy and move to more housekeeping things. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Well, that was our first little section on a comprehensible input strategy. So the other thing, yep, I was supposed to show you that slide next for asking questions. Okay, so for not next week, but our next session, people have said, I want to collaborate. So in my brain, I'm so used to having a form where I need to fill out while we're collaborating. What standards are you talking about? What activities? Do you guys have like non-negotiables? Well, first of all, if you're coming to collaborate and talk to people next week, do you want some sort of document to write things down, or do you just want to have a conversation? What do you guys need to get out of the collaboration discussions in 2 weeks? Abby?
No, I was saying I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Val, you're going to have to pick Spanish or French and pick one to hang out with when we do collaboration.
I guess Spanish. I can do it with Danny.
I mean, Jason and I are slightly offended, but that's fine. No, it's okay. So I was thinking if we needed some sort of document to fill out so that everyone can collaborate on it, I can create one. But maybe for our first get together, you just sort of chat. What are you guys working on? What are your, I'll come up with like guiding questions. How about that, to start some discussions instead of having one more thing to fill out? Sound like a plan? Okay, cool. Does anybody actually have a unit plan or a lesson plan that they really love? Yeah, everyone's eyebrows all just went in 6 different directions. I have one for our department that I actually love because I created it when I was in Jason's classroom, because we follow that everyday IPA format. And so our lesson plan is so stinking easy. What are your warm-up questions? What are you going to teach kids today? What interpretive task? What interpersonal task? What presentational task? So like, I got lucky that I can make that fly in this school. So if you don't have that, it's okay. I was just asking if anyone had one because it would be a great example for a world language lesson plan. Some of the bigger districts like Cobb, Gwinnett, Henry, I guess to an extent, they have like common unit plans, they have common lesson plans, they have common assessments. Those of us not in those big districts don't have that. So, okay, well, I'll dig around. Does anybody think about it, please? And I'll send out another email begging. If anybody has a really great strategy, please use this forum. It's a great chance to practice your presentation skills. It's a great chance to show off all the awesome stuff you're doing. I would love to have somebody other than me because I'm definitely not an expert. I'm not even pretending to know much more than what I can tell you on the day of the lesson. So if you know of somebody that's really great, maybe the Russian lady, I don't know if she's super booked. Maybe we could reach out and see if she would come teach something. I don't know. We can reach out. Since y'all are having all these conversations, you should ask her if she wants to come talk to a group of rural teachers to show her awesomeness. Okay, so keep that in the back of your head. If you've got somebody, reach out. We'll see if we can connect. Okay. Here's the big deal. I do not know if you guys saw, I guess earlier in the springtime, the governor and the superintendent announced that they're creating a new division, the Rural Education and Innovation Division. Did you guys catch that? Yeah, right. So it seems like the governor is really going to push money and infrastructure to rural education. And you know what? We are rural, I believe. I think I had a conversation with Patrick Wallace and I was like, do we have an actual definition of what rural is? Because some places have 1 school, some have 2, some have 3, some have like an additional not public school, I guess, like charter schools. So we don't have like the definition down yet. But I was talking to him about this and I was like, okay, so we've got this group of folks. We have language teachers who, if you look in a rural high school and even middle school, we're probably one of the least supported content areas. You know, there's generally like a fine arts, there's generally a CTAE coordinator for the district, director for the district, and we just sort of get lumped in there with, you know, at Henry County, it's social studies. Abby, I don't know if you have to go to any department meetings. Do you go to like
I go to ELA.
ELA? Are y'all, Val and Danny, are y'all in ELA or do y'all get seen as one?
We kind of, sometimes we go on with ELA, sometimes we just our own departments, 3 of us, so.
Adam, do you guys get seen as your own department or do you have to work with other departments?
We are our own department, even though we're tiny.
Right. There are 4 of us here. Who is Julie? Julie is coming. There are 4 of us here and we're our own department, but for like, getting together with our admin, like our admin has a content area and like a performance based. Hey Julie, glad to see you. But anyways, you know, outside of our building and our department, we don't have someone in our county who's like, hey, foreign language teachers, come to me for all your resources. We're just sort of our department and the other high schools department. So I was looking at this and I was like, this would be a really good place to reach out for support. But I don't know what support to ask for. My support may be different than the support that you guys need. So really and truly, the last little bit of our session, I want to pick your brains. If you don't have a district coordinator, if you don't have a strong department chair, what kinds of things do you need that we could approach this office? I think the Dr. Reagan Martin, she's actually starting in, I think it said September, so I have no idea when they will start actually talking to content areas, but like I talked to Patrick Wallace and we're just like, how can we have a list of stuff ready so that in case, like, we look like we know what we're doing in the rural language area. And so I did send out an email, and basically everything that I have gotten back from people boils down to collaboration and networking, basically getting to know other teachers, professional development, resources, and advocacy. And I've got a whole list of other stuff, but really and truly right now, I need for y'all to tell me your wish list. Like, what kinds of things would you, as a language teacher, need support in? Most people said, like, I need authentic resources, or somebody said, I need art supplies, I need lamination. Like, come on and dump. What do we need, guys? If this were Teacher Santa Claus, what kinds of things would you want to see?
What about try and get some world language into the elementary programs?
Program development, yep. Okay. I love that. So you already have it in the middle school, right, Adam?
Yes.
Val, you're the only Russian teacher outside of Atlanta, so I know you don't have a middle school feeder.
No, finally, they let us have a 9th graders sign up. So I have in my class 4 or 5. I don't know about Danny. Oh, she's teaching Spanish too right now. I know Spanish 1, they have a few 9th graders, at least that. And they did not want it even this. And, you know, we have a problems before. It was, 11, 12 graders. It was full class of seniors. Now all our seniors, dual enrollment, work-based learning. I have a student, senior, in the middle of the class, stand up and go. I say, where are you going? Oh, I withdraw from your class. I find a job. So now she is a work-based learning, and this is it. She give up and go. I'm just looking at her. Nobody even told me anything. This is what's going on. So yes, the foreign language is like in the back of a list.
Because we're in rural districts, we're naturally gonna, well, I think most naturally, we're gonna have those families where it's more vital for students to work. It's gonna be more vital for students to do dual enrollment because families don't have to pay for it. And elementary, middle school, all of those things, you know, if we can shift it down to, like, let's take level 1 and level 2 in middle school, then we can do level 3 or 4 in high school. It's still going to build our program and avoid those seniors tapping out. Like, I would ideally love to have kids earn their pathway sophomore, junior year, because I know they're never going to choose French over making money or going to college for free or getting to go home and have lunch and hang out and not have to come to school. So for me, I love getting the underclassmen and getting them in and getting them out. And Henry County has Spanish in the middle school, but not French, right, Jason?
Right.
Right. Julie, where are you? What school system are you in?
I'm in Jackson County, which is like Commerce, Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Do y'all have a middle school feeder program?
No, we don't.
Do you guys do 1, 2, 3, or do you have AP or upper levels?
We hope to start AP next year for
Okay,
Spanish,
cool.
but not. They don't have the French. The French, the highest they go is French 3, but it's very few people. One thing on the wish list is the those language computer labs where you talk into it. I don't know. Those are very expensive.
Well, there's options too. You know, like
Martha Elizabeth.
10 years ago, you had to have a thing that comes out of the ceiling. But now, do all of your kids have Chromebooks?
Yes.
Right. So I think there's much cheaper options to do the same thing. I think that's a really valid resource request. You know, if you had a classroom set of headphones or iPads or whatever, I think it can be done a whole lot cheaper than the whole $40,000 from the ceiling thing.
Okay.
That's a great one. Language lab options. Okay. Come on, guys. It's Santa Claus. Tell me things that we can ask for. What do you need? What would make your life easier? Professionally speaking. Some of the things that people have tossed out is teaching strategies. Like we need professional development in learning how to teach better. I think most of us I know I do. I get stuck in my same thing. And I'm always like, oh, I need to teach this a little bit better. Understanding proficiency-based grading. Anyone else still really not sure how to do that? Not gonna lie, I say it and I know the words. I don't have a deep understanding of what that means and how to do it well. Also, how many people go to Flag and Sculpt every year? Does your district pay for you to go? Adam, you do get to go to Flag and Sculpt? We have to beg for it here. And Henry County is like the first 5 who get to go, I think. So one of the things I think that would be on there would be great to get somebody to cover registration. But the flip side of going to a professional development conference is we don't ever get sub money. So I don't know if this group could help provide sub money to let us go do professional development. Do you guys run into that issue?
Yes,
No sub coverage.
we're short on subs.
I think I need that on there. And then somebody, so we had issues of, not issues, but requests for those of us who are non-native speakers. How can we get extra like practice with our own language skills, right? Like I know that I'm definitely not a super fluid French speaker. And then
Me, I definitely could use some, I don't know, some tutoring, I guess, just to continue to do better in Spanish.
What do you find? I mean, I always think like there was a time when I was like at my peak, you know, where like I was like good, and now it's like, you know, you kind of get stuck into like the I teach French 1 and 2, and I have like this level, and like can't like, you know, it's hard to find ways to like, oh, let me keep up this language because I don't live in France anymore, and I'm not going to go do that. And
so when Jason came to my classroom as my student teacher for like the first couple of days, I was like, oh, like for real French. What is this, dude? Like, dang. Like, it was such a shock to my system, and I was so embarrassed. I'm like, here's this kid coming to I say kid, you're my age. But here's this guy coming to my room to learn how to teach, and he out-Frenches me. And every year for me, it feels like it gets worse, you know? And you only have so many hours in the day to listen to podcasts or pay for French TV or whatever. So that's on the list. And also something that I struggle with even today that somebody brought up, education on how to use language in LGBTQI. How do we address that in our classrooms? Like today I'm teaching mon copain, ma copine, and I had to pause and just be like, guys, this is very gendered. This means for a girl, this is for a guy. I know that this is not the only 2 options that are out there. We don't have the language for it yet in French, and if it's out there, I haven't found it yet. Like, it's still evolving. So between that and also how to address in an appropriate way social justice issues. These are some of the things that people have brought to me for on the side of professional development. What about digital resources? Like, I think everybody's like, oh, all these tech tools. Is there one that you guys really want that your schools are not paying for? Or that you're having to pay for? Is there something that you just really love? Think these things through, and if you come up with something, let me know because I'm compiling my list. Other folks are talking about, hey, I need color printing. I would like some lamination. I need some crayons and markers. Or do you think, right? So, and in my head, I'm thinking, how can we partner with our local RISAs? Are you guys close to your RISAs, or are you far away? No? You're far away? Kind of. That's the thing that I'm thinking in my head. How can we get funding from somewhere to put into foreign language teacher accounts at the RISA to cover this and deliver it? But I don't know. Language lab advocacy. One of the other things in advocacy, I have wanted this and I tried making it and I failed miserably. I want some sort of crosswalk that explains to my administrators how each of these TEAC standards looks in a good foreign language classroom. Some principals are like, cool, you teach a language, you're really hard to rehire, I'm just going to keep you. Some administrators will come through and be like, where's your differentiation data? Where's your flexible grouping? And I just sort of look like a deer in the headlights because I'm like, I don't think that's how my job works. And if it is, then that means I have to sacrifice teaching in the language. You know, I get really confused. So I don't know how to have those conversations when they come up. I have found a lot of resources, but I've yet to see one that is like real specific to TEKS, because y'all know administrators do not have the time of day to learn what it is that we do. They need something that they can check. So for me, I need a TEKS walkthrough, and also some way to explain to our administrators what a good foreign language classroom looks like. If you are lucky enough to have an administrator who's like, cool, your class was fun, I learned how to say something great today, that's awesome, but I don't think it's across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that were on advocacy. And also with collaboration and networking, anything that you guys need, y'all just shoot me emails. Let me know if you think of stuff. How can you be supported as a world language teacher that doesn't need your school's input, doesn't need your district's input? What could the state just provide to you if they provide us stuff? So all of those things where like, oh, we can't go to that, you don't have permission, you don't have funding, this is against blah, blah, blah. If you've run into roadblocks, how can we get them unblocked? So that's that. So keep your brains thinking. I think I have one more slide. I don't even know where my mouse is. Oh, look, those are the things we see. Look, I'm so used, I've gone back to paper. Like I pulled out my notebook instead of the thing that I prepared. But anyways, okay. So if you, there it is. Do y'all have your phones? Yeah. If you need a certificate of attendance, if you scan that, fill your name out, it will automatically send you a thing that says, thank you for attending the Starlight session today. And that's it. That's what I got, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to turn off the record. If you guys have some comments you want to say or questions you want to ask that won't be recorded and put on YouTube, that would be the time. Thank you so much. I hope you all have had a great start to the school year. And I love that you're all here and building this network of all of us country bumpkins, I guess. But that's a really bad way of saying it. All of us rural teachers. And with that, I'm stopping the recording. Where's the stop recording? Okay. All right.